Welcome to the first episode in Season 1 of the Malta Humanist Soundbites, a safe place where we get a closer look at humanist individuals in Malta. In the next 7 minutes, together with Godfrey, we shall be getting to know his humanistic views, especially on the topic of its origins and its future in Malta. Welcome, Godfrey.
Thank you.
So, Godfrey, can you tell us, what is humanism?
Well, there's no book which tells you, it's not a dogma. I mean, basically, I look at humanism as a worldview, as a way of living one's life. And although I say it's not a dogma, I would argue that there are a number of basic ideas which most people who would call themselves humanists would believe in or would hold to be true. I think the most fundamental one is that the supernatural does not exist. There are no supernatural entities, and there is nothing which goes beyond the laws of nature. I mean, we live in the only real thing is the material universe around us, which is subject to physical laws. And basically, the belief that science provides an explanation is the only real source of knowledge that we have. And from this, there are a certain number of extrapolations, like, you know, we only have this one life to live. There is no afterlife. There's no reincarnation. So it's up to us to make the most of it. Now, in one sense, that is a kind of listing, I should say, of what humanism rejects. But humanism goes beyond the simple rejection of the supernatural, of basically religious belief. It is also a worldview, a life stance, which sees that there is a positivity in being human, that basically human beings can live an ethical life, a fulfilling life, without the need of the prop-ups of religious faith. And basically you can construct, or we do construct, a moral code which is based upon the lessons of history, upon personal experience, and upon rational thought. And that, I would say, it kind of sums up what I would define as somebody who has a humanist view would kind of hold as the fundamental tenets of what that really means.
Okay, so what made you realize that you're actually a humanist?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, humanist is also a label. I mean, what I think happens to a number of people is that their view on the world around them evolves with time, and so it was with me. I mean, you know, with time and up to my early 20s, basically, I was saying that the sort of beliefs, basically religious beliefs, and you know, attempts to explain existence around me, were kind of did not really make sense, especially when exposed to the you know, cold light of science. So basically, I think it was more a kind of evolution of thought, and initially a rejection of religious belief. I do remember like an epiphany moment, which was when I read the essay by Bertrand Russell, which I believe he entitled "Why I Am Not a Christian," and suddenly there was somebody putting into very simple language, you know, things which kind of had been bubbling up, you know, over the years. So yeah, I suppose, like I said, it's an evolution, and I suppose a number of people pass through this you know, different phases of questioning what they have been brought up to believe.
So, can you describe the Maltese context and why you felt the need for a humanist association?
Well, it's several years ago now, but I had come to obviously, you know, what I've just mentioned, the view that there was something beyond religious belief which explained existence better, and which one could adhere to without kind of having to suspend belief, without having to kind of accept as truths things without evidence. And I saw around me a context where religious belief was beginning to decline more and more. But on the other hand, there was nothing to replace it. And humanism does provide a replacement for religious belief, provides a mechanism to have a set of values which previously, I should say, were derived from holy texts and from, you know, something like the Ten Commandments. So yeah, that was what motivated me to get the Maltese Humanist Association going in the first place.
So what would you say have been the highlights of the association over the years since its inception?
Well, I think, I mean, what I think was very noticeable in the initial days, and this is going back now to 2009, 2010, was that, you know, suddenly there was, and social media, obviously Facebook really helped this along, was that people suddenly found that there were others who had the same thoughts and you know, the same question marks that they had, and the fact that humanism suddenly became something that people began to understand and people began to recognize, I think was like the biggest achievement. And especially, you know, following the discussions that took place in the early days. In terms of instances like, you know, I mean, the kind of like instances like winning a gold medal in the Olympics kind of thing, I think we pushed hard to have ethics introduced into schools. I believe it's secondary schools basically, and that was really kind of one really major achievement, I believe. And there was other stuff. I mean, in the sense that obviously participation in LGBT movement and in the divorce referendum. So it was a sum of things rather than, you know, like there were like, you know, individual instances where I could say, okay, look, we did this and we did that. But the fact that now people look about, you know, upon people who do not have religious belief as valid members of society and not just, you know, not as criminals, I think is the biggest achievement, quite frankly. The acceptance.
Well, thank you, Godfrey, for that islander's perspective into the early days of humanism. That's all we have time for today, listeners. So do join us next time for another 7-minute soundbite. And until then, goodbye from Godfrey and goodbye from me, and stay safe.